Good morning, Karen. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you? And your hair looks perfect.
Good.
Your hair looks perfect.
Thanks.
Don't worry.
Good.
So good morning, everyone, and welcome to the broadcast. And so we're talking today about supplements. This was a request, so we've thrown this in there. We asked a question in the group of what supplements do you use on a regular basis? Like, what do you think is good and why? Had a few responses, but we're here to talk about that a little bit more in depth. So, Coach Katie, what are your thoughts just on supplements as a whole?
I think they have their place and then they don't. So I always tell people that supplements are a very personal thing, just because what works for one person isn't going to be necessarily what works for you, especially when we start to put in, are you eating a balanced diet, or, are you kind of the lazy eater and you need to supplement? And then where are you at as far as your training? Are you a beginner? And we can see those results kind of happen without the supplementation, and then that supplements, as you're progressing from intermediate to advanced, kind of, assisting in that next level of performance, that we can really only kind of hit the corners of once we start to add those supplements in and give the body that kind of edge. Those are my big things, I guess. I don't like to supplement beginners. The only supplement I do use for beginners is creatine for women. Because I train a lot of women in, kind of that premenopausal, menopausal age. And, muscle mass, we're losing muscle mass at a higher rate by that age. And so to be able to keep as much as we can and kind of assist in that, I'm a firm believer in creatine. And so that's my beginner one. That's the one I start with.
So why should someone use creatine? So what is the purpose? Why would you say, like, for a beginner, if they're saying, okay, what should I do with creatine? What should I use? Why should I use it?
Yep. So creatine is, if you guys don't know, it's naturally occurring in the body already. It's also the most widely researched supplement in the entire industry. There's lots of research on it. And so you're not going to go wrong, right? It's an easy one to kind of like dip your toe in. And there's always kind of a payout to it without the harmful side effects, unless of course you have some of those adverse health conditions, and those are pretty minimal, like kidneys and that sort of thing. I always say that, we're doing a lot of good with that, because we're assisting in recovery, especially as people are just starting to work out. We want to be able to recover as quickly as possible so we can keep working out. We can stay with the program. And that's one thing that throws people off very often is we're sore, the recovery takes a little bit too long, and then we miss workouts. So this is one of those things that can kind of help us not to miss as many workouts, as well as we're getting to keep the results, and I say results in quotes, more often than we're kind of, losing them, because most of the time the trend is to start to work out really, really hard and cut our diet down to almost nothing so we can see results as quickly as possible. And that doesn't really work very well, right? We want to make sure that we're maintaining the calories that are required to increase our muscle mass, right? So once we can build muscle, we can tone down to something. If we don't have muscle on the body, we're basically just getting smaller and smaller with thinner and thinner skin. Does that make sense?
Right. And your body becomes,
so that's why I do.
If you cut too much too fast, then your body is going to also just go to the muscle for its energy. Like, you've got to get energy from somewhere. If you're not giving it the food that it needs to support your workouts, then your body will use your muscle. But creatine is really going to help you even just inch out a little bit more on each workout. Like, it helps you, it increases your endurance and increases your strength a little bit, but it is a thing that, like, it has been around for decades and decades. And it used to be back in the day, you had to do a creatine load and then and then space out. And so a lot of the times with that load would come like water retention. So a lot of women especially think, okay, well, I shouldn't take that because it makes you like hold water. But okay, keep in mind that you don't have to do the loading thing anymore. Like typically a serving size of creatine is like 5 grams per day. You know, you may be more or less, but that's general, like standard 5 grams of creatine. And then what's going to happen is, you know, your muscle is mostly water, right? So yes, we actually want to have more water, and that's going to help as far as your muscle goes. And just to kind of like, you should notice a difference, like probably within a couple of weeks, I'd say max. You may notice it right away, but you know, it used to be loading. Now you don't have to load, but it does offer benefits, like as far as your strength and your endurance goes, in the gym, as well as your recovery. And like Coach Katie said, there have been tons of research articles. This has been the most, supplementation wise, this is the most researched product for, you know, years and years and years. So I would agree that that would be a number one thing, of supplementation. So creatine, number one. Okay, what would be like number two, Coach Katie, if you would say a supplement that you would recommend?
Is creatine your number one too?
I would say creatine would be my number one, but it's a close tie. So again, you talked about, you know, proper nutrition, obviously, but what I have seen for years and years and years is most women do not get the amount of protein that they need. So I do recommend a protein powder, but it's got to be a good quality one, y'all. There is so much trash. Like,
and we're going to talk about that.
If you have intestinal issues, like from using a protein powder, which is plain water, okay? Like you want to kind of keep it simple to like narrow down any bad effects. I know I have used every protein powder there probably ever was between the late 80s and now. And there are ones that I would highly recommend and ones that I'd be like, no, you do not want that. Like there are ones that are like sand, they don't dissolve, and they just make you like gassy. It's just like not good quality ingredients. So you want to make sure you're getting the right thing, but I would recommend that. That's a close tie with creatine because people don't get enough.
Right. I'm going to stop and say, like, when you guys are looking for protein powders too, my clients often will go buy a protein powder and it's actually more of a meal replacement. And so there is a difference. So when you're looking at protein powders, if they're balanced carbs and proteins with some added fat, you're going to have a meal replacement shake. So you're going to want to know what that macronutrient breakdown is when you're buying your protein. If it is very, 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 very low carbs and fats and mostly protein, that's a supplemental protein powder. And there's a difference because you're adding that so that you can get that macronutrient bumped up. Versus, you know, spreading out just meals, right? Like we're just eating more meals. And they both have their own place. Both should be from very good sources, but know the difference. Know that there is a difference. So some things will, you know, you can buy a bag or a canister or something that says protein, but it may be a new meal replacement as well. So just, you know, throw it in here. If you're not sure, take a picture of it, take the picture of the front, take a picture of the back, throw it in here and ask your questions. I love digging into it. I know Coach Holly loves to, you know, research new products or let you know what our thoughts are on them because we can, you know, break down the ingredients list for you too and kind of give you an idea of, you know, there's usually good and bad to every protein powder. There's some of them more good, some of them more bad. So we'll give you our honest opinions.
Yes, post the picture in the group or, you know, send a direct message somewhere and just like ask because like you don't know if you don't know, and don't sit there and try to figure out everything on your own because that's not helpful either. It's a waste of time when you have, you know, somebody who can probably give you a quick answer. And you know, it's the rabbit hole.
They're always coming out with more.
Yeah.
They're always coming out with more. I mean, I feel like every day there's probably a new supplement that jumps on the market, you know, and causes more confusion or shiny object syndrome or something like that. So just send a message, ask your questions, and move on. Don't worry about, you know, fussing over it for too long.
So let's talk about that on the flip side real quick. So, you know, we're talking about creatine, we're talking about protein powder in general. But like, you were talking about there's a new shiny object like all the time. And so there's always something that people want to draw us into and make us think that we need, right? And so like, well,
yes.
I mean,
so
I have got to
this
tell
was
you.
a question.
Huh?
This was a question, right? We had this question, right? They wanted us to discuss, you know, the marketing of supplements towards women.
Let me answer Karen's question real quick. So whey versus casein. Okay, so you can have whey, you can have a blend. Like the protein that I generally use is a blend, and there is a reason why. Okay, so whey is a lot quicker absorbing, but it's also a lot quicker to use, right? So like post-workout, like whey could be like very beneficial to get protein into your muscles quickly. Like I said, it's very easily absorbed. Casein is slower. So like at night, casein is a little bit more beneficial because if you were going to have that in the evening, it stays with you longer. So, you know, if for some reason, if you're on lower calories or you find that you're super hungry at night, that might be a good thing for you to use because it stays with you longer. So casein is like cottage cheese, basically. So like
cottage cheese, yeah, I was just gonna say that.
So cottage cheese would also be a great thing, like, you know, just regular food to eat at night because it's slower to break down. So what I use is a blend, so you get both benefits. Not only does it get the whey in there quicker, but it's also got the casein, which is a little bit longer lasting. I know when I used 100% whey, and it serves its purpose, but for me, I'm telling you, 20 minutes after I drank it, I was just hungry again anyway. Like I needed more food. So like post-workout, if you need that quickly, then that's a good idea because it is absorbed very quickly, but casein lasts longer. So, you know, for me, I like the blend for that reason.
Yeah. So, and let's touch on the post-workout thing when we're hitting with the proteins. We do want to have a little bit of a carb source there. A good colleague of you know, former colleague of ours put it, I feel like the best way I've ever had it like explained, and carbs will open the door. Carbs will open that door so that protein can get to where it needs to go. Does that make sense? So you want to have that carb to open the door, protein can get through and do what it's meant to do. So
y'all
definitely have that post-workout.
Faster carbs are actually better post-workout. The things that are simpler, that are easily broken down. So like you don't want a ton of fiber post-workout because like fiber is filling, right? So think about when stuff moves through your system, fiber takes a lot longer to break down. So post-workout, you want something that's very simple carb, like that's easy to get in there. So even like if you have something that's just like more on the kind of sugary side, so like say something like a cup of cereal or something that's just very easy, quick carbs, not a lot of fiber to get in there, and like she said, open the door so you can get the protein in there. So I generally have both of those right after lifting, and it does make a huge difference like in how I feel. If you've ever left the gym and you feel like you are just like almost shaky because like you have trained so hard, like you need that stuff, like you need it quicker, and then you can have a bigger meal later and have the fiber and all that stuff that's slower. But the, you know, getting that in there is really helpful, I think, towards your recovery right away. You know.
Yeah. And then Karen asked a follow-up. So after we know what we're eating, how soon should you have that? How soon after your workout should you be getting in that protein and carbs?
So, you know, there's lots of theories on your window of when you should get things in post-workout, right? Now keep in mind that like in the whole caloric intake for the whole day, it doesn't really matter. But for post-nutrition training, I would recommend as soon as possible afterwards. Like, again, because for me, if I've had a hard lifting workout, I don't want to sit there and wait to get the nutrients in. Okay. Like that is like, so think about, Katie said the door, the carbs open the door for the protein to get in, right? But your workout beforehand has like turned the doorknob. Okay. So when you've worked out, you've turned the doorknob, the carbs open the door for the protein to get in. So it's got to be like pretty soon. Like you don't want to wait like hours. In my mind, I think, okay, if I have gone like an hour and a half, 2 hours after I've lifted, by that time I am so depleted. I'm like too tired to even make food at that point. So I actually like to take mine with me to the gym to like have as soon as I'm done. Like, and then I'm good. Like, I get kind of grouchy. If I'm like really hungry, like by the time I got home, it's just better for me to take it with me to the gym is all I'm saying. It's good for me to have like, I would say within an hour would be ideal. Like if you've got to get home or whatever, but like for me, I like to just take it with me. And then that way it's already there and I've done what I need to do to kind of like replenish myself because I'm really like done by then. I need that. I need that to get home and do all the other stuff.
And you guys can look up theories too. I'd always suggest that you look up what other people are suggesting and put it into play. Like try it, experiment for a week, see if you respond well to it. See if there's no response to it. You can kind of do that own personal experiments with yourself. Coach Holly, like she said, she does it right away. That's what she found has worked for her based on the symptoms that she's experiencing post workout and what has she's found to remedy that situation. So you can always go by the theories and implement and then find your own what works. So like Coach Holly said, within an hour is a pretty good thing. My personal preference is 30 within 30. So I like 30 grams of protein within the first 30 minutes after my workout. It's an easy rule for me. It's easy to say, and my brain has picked up on it and it's worked really, really well. But you're going to find your own personal preferences. Some people get really, really sick eating right after a workout. Totally fine. Know what happens with your body and work with that. And like Coach Holly said, it's the overarching total daily intake, right? And even so weekly intake, because we know some days are better than others, but over a week, what does that big snapshot look like for you? And if that's continuing to help you make progress and we're tracking in the right direction, then we don't have to go into the weeds and move things around. When things aren't working, that's when we go in and move things around.
Yeah. And I mean, because everybody's different, they're going to have different responses. I mean, I will tell you like another byproduct for me is like, if I go too long, okay, two things. First, if I go too long, I almost feel sick on the reverse side. Not like so sick that I can't eat, but if I don't have something like right away, like I'm talking when I have something right away, I'm definitely within Coach Katie's 30 because I'm probably more like 10 minutes after I'm done working out, I have it. But what happens if I don't? And like I end up, for some reason, I don't have it with me and then I go home and something else happens and it's an extended period of time. Number one, I'm going to start feeling yucky. But then when I start eating, it's like I can't stop because I've waited too long and then I'm in a rage and then it's like, so like you got to plan. Like we always, planning is so important. But you have to plan that out. And I know for me, like, oh my gosh, because then if I'm fixing like my kids something to eat, then it's like, oh, well, I'm really hungry, so maybe I'll just have some of this. And then I'm like, maybe. And so, and if you're not like a diligent tracker, and you are like lick, bite, and taste person, you could have like 500 calories while you're making something and not even know, because you don't know. So, planning I think is key. But like if you know that you're the type of person that has a certain response after a certain time, like pay attention to what your body is telling you, because you're going to know like what you need. Okay. So like creatine, protein. What else do you think? Let's talk about, okay, so those are two. Do you have any other ones that you think like are necessary?
So I do, just because standard American diet, most people aren't getting enough fiber. I always like to tell people, get some fiber in. Like if you are not eating a well-balanced diet, until you are, figure out where your fiber's at and get it into that range. Everybody has a different one. You're going to figure out, as soon as you start pooping regularly, you're doing great. So just figure that out. But I always say fiber, it's motivating too, because you end up less bloated, you feel better about your workouts, you end up with more energy after you can kind of move things through, and it just helps the whole system kind of stay running and humming at its highest potential.
Are you talking about a fiber supplement?
Yep.
So like using like a powder?
I do use a powder, yeah.
Okay. So, I think you do have to know where a typical fiber should be, which is another benefit of tracking. But like she said, if you're going to the bathroom regularly, you're probably good. So, what else? Is there anything else that you think? I will say on the supplement side, like as far as supplementation goes, of course you should get all of, your body is going to absorb vitamins and minerals better from food. But I always recommend just a really good multivitamin and also like a fish oil supplement, or like an omega 369 supplement like that, just because those are things that just kind of fill in the gaps. Okay, so y'all, supplements, that's what supplements are. They're meant to supplement your diet, not to replace it. So you can't take a vitamin and then be like, oh, well, I took a vitamin, so I don't need to eat like fruits and vegetables and stuff. Those are just meant to be like, so every day you might eat sort of the same types of foods, and you don't get a huge variety of like fruits and vegetables. So a multivitamin is basically just going to like fill in those little gaps where maybe you don't get enough of this certain vitamin. And so that kind of helps it out a little bit. It's not a replacement, it's a supplement. So those are things that I would recommend.
I never put multivitamins into like my brain as like supplements. I'm always like powder, that's a supplement, boom. The other one I like suggesting, and I normally just suggest it for people that, have long winters or whatever, but vitamin D, because people end up sick when they start training because your body has to choose where it's putting that energy, as well as over the winter months, it is so good to have vitamin D. Your mood just maintains. It's really kind of one of those underrated supplements.
Yeah. And a lot of times, sure. a lot of people are vitamin D deficient and don't even know it. So, that's something obviously your doctor would need to check out. But I know my sister was very, very low in vitamin D, and she had to take they gave her it was something crazy amounts, to get her back up to where she needs. But then so the supplementation again is to be consistent with that. And so if you are supplementing with vitamins, one of the other things that I really like, you're talking about vitamin D, but I like zinc is very good for your immune system. And I actually take a ZMA supplement at night, and it helps with your sleep, but it also helps with your immunity. So that is another thing I would probably recommend, but it's consistency. So you can't take something you couldn't take a vitamin D supplement today and then not do it again until Saturday. And then, so any kind of supplement, y'all, is really kind of like an allergy pill. If you have seasonal allergies, you don't take it once you already have them. You have to take it regularly, and then it builds up in your system, and it's like creatine. It's I can't give, so my son had massive nosebleeds, for weeks. So we ended up because it was super scary. I'm talking, it was like a faucet. So we went to the ear, nose, and throat doctor, and he said, it looks like there are allergies. And he's like, don't use nasal spray. Don't use that at all. But he said it looks inflamed, right? So he says something like a Claritin or Zyrtec, take daily, right? That would help reduce that. But you're not taking it for the symptoms, once you already have it. You're taking it sort of to prevent that. So your supplementation is sort of the same. You want to do it on a regular basis, not just when you notice something or you feel things are off. It's got to be a consistent thing. It's built up over time. It's like the vitamins. You can't just take a vitamin once a week and be oh yeah, that was good. So you're trying to fill in those gaps each day, right?
Yeah. Okay, so we have to switch gears because otherwise we're going to run out of time. But we had a question as well. So we talked about, kind of some of the supplements that Coach Holly and I would recommend. Now, please, when you go, get off this call or you watch the replay or something like that, do not go buy all of the things we just suggested all at once and try to do it all. Just pick one, find out how it works, did it work, whatever, and then try the next one, and so on and so forth. Or just the ones that you kind of feel are going to be giving you that benefit. Maybe you don't need any right now. But don't go get them all. Don't get them
Or
off.
ask.
Yeah, ask. Drop them in here. You know, you can send pictures to us. You can drop them in the group, whatever. Kind of give other people ideas maybe. But we're going to talk now. We're going to switch gears, right? And talk a little bit about the supplement industry, kind of maybe those warning signs that we want to see, because it also is a $72 billion industry that is meant to keep you dependent on it so that it can continue to make more profits, right? So there's a lot of marketing that goes into, and money that goes into that marketing in order to get you to buy supplements that maybe aren't as useful, right? And so we're really marketing towards, when, you know, the industry really markets towards women, kind of in the weight loss space as well as, you know, performance. And so Coach Ali and I are going to just talk a little bit about, you know, the trends that we're kind of seeing, how the market, you know, kind of maybe can manipulate things a little bit in order to sway your thoughts and kind of get you to that shiny object distraction, that maybe or maybe not is helpful. Coach Ali, what are your thoughts?
So when the question was posed in our group, you know, I thought about there are so many coaches, you know, like I follow all kinds of bodybuilders online and whatnot, and there's probably not many coaches that I know of that don't also have their own supplement line. Okay, now think about that for a few minutes and think about why. Because supplements are going to be what bring in the most continuous form of revenue, right? So like if somebody is a coach and they're designing a program, well, yeah, it's really good if you can offer I would love to have my own product, but I don't have time. So, you know, I'm a wholesale representative for the protein that I use because I love them so much. I have used this product for like, Lord, since probably 2001. So like 20 years I've been using this product, and I've used every other there ever was. There are all kinds of products that are different, that are good for different things at different times, right? But there's always something better. Like somebody has, so again, you got to find like what works for you. But there are so many products that are just sold by companies that you probably don't even really need. You know, and it's like one of the questions was about pre-workout. You know, pre-workout has its place, I guess, but you know, there's so many different variations in pre-workout. I mean, I've taken many over the years, and some would just make me insane, and some are like really good, just to like, it's sort of like you feel an increased intensity in the gym, like kind of a better pump. It depends on what's in it. So my caution to you would be, you know, just make sure that you know what you're trying. And like Coach Katie said, try one thing. Lord, y'all, don't be all over the place in like different pre-workouts or like fat burners or supplements and all this stuff. Cause like you can really like screw yourself up. Like as far as like stimulants go, like there is such a thing as overstimulation. I can just drink too much coffee and be overstimulated. And like, it's kind of like irritability. So like if you take too much pre-workout, you may feel something for a little while and then be like, you know, like you're just crazy. So it can be a bad thing too. So like, you just want to like go into looking at supplements very cautiously and keep it very small and like know what works. Like people will sell like supplement in the industry, you'll get like a stack. Okay, so like a stack seems great because it's got like all these like 5 or 6 products that you need, right? And so you go from nothing to 5 or 6 things, and then you have like these side effects and you don't even know what it's from. Okay, was it like supplement 1, 3, 5? I don't know, because I started taking them all at one time, right? So just be aware of overload. That's
yeah. I think my other caution from the industry is if you do the digging, you know how kind of like Walmart or Sam's Club, they get to put, there's a lot of the same product that just has a different like label slapped on it. Same product, just different brands, wrapping it up as their own and selling it at different prices, right? The same thing is happening in the health and fitness industry in your supplements as well. So, when you have these trainers that want to have their own supplement label, it's happening. You may be getting the same supplement from, Joe Schmo as you are from Lizzie Lindale or whatever. It's the same thing. Just one is better at marketing than the other one. And they both might be crap products because the manufacturer is just manufacturing them so these people can slap labels on them. It's really frustrating. So make sure that you're doing your research and knowing where they're coming from, because that's like Coach Holly said, we have a lot of coaches that have those supplements because that's where they make their income. Now, I'm not going to say that they're terrible trainers and that's why they can't make income actually training people, but the majority of their income is coming from those supplements because it's something that their consumers have to keep buying. I can sell you a program one time, and then you can continue to make it progressive, right? You can continue to add weights, you can continue to add sets, you can make it a little bit harder every time with the same exercise routines and all of that, and never have to buy another one. But when you run out of 30 servings of protein, you have to buy more. You can't come up with that yourself and make it more. And that's kind of where the industry builds out its financial reputation from, I would say.
And you can eat the protein, but for me, I just like having the option. I like protein powder because it's fast and I don't have to choose something forever.
Right.
I can only choose.
No,
so
for sure. It's very convenient.
So
yes.
I do like that, but again, that's like my number 1 or 2 supplement, right? But so just pay attention, because like she was talking about products. So I was thinking about this because I used to teach this to my kids in nutrition and wellness. Okay. If you go to Kroger and you have Kroger baked beans and you have Bush's baked beans, and you look at the label and you look at the ingredients and you look at the macronutrients, it's exactly the same. But it's because you got a name on one versus the other, it's a huge difference in price. So you've got to look at what you're getting. Again, it's just like with the protein powder. Now I know like the protein powder that I use and that I would promote is like they're their only company. They don't advertise. They don't sell anything. So I mean, they don't have any ads. They're not in stores. So you can't just you can get it online, but it's not like a GNC or Vitamin Shop or anything like that. But a lot of the ones that you'll see in there, again, if you looked at the label, it's the same thing. It's all made from the same manufacturer. It's just different people have different labels. And like Craig's label might look a whole lot different than Becky's label. And like, this is the bomb over here because look at all this, and it's exactly the same. But so because their label's so great, they're going to charge $10 more, but it's the same product. So just research your product and know exactly what you're getting and start slowly to know what is working for you. So it's kind of like your nutrition plan or your workout plan. You can't do something for 3 days and know if it's working or not. You got to give something a good 10 to 14 days. Now, if you had a protein and you know immediately that it made you sick, obviously that's the problem. But you gotta give stuff a chance, just like with creatine or whatever, to know over time how you're going to respond to it. One of the biggest problems I see with people, and same thing with supplements, is they'll try something, they don't think it's working, so they'll switch to something else, but they really didn't give that product enough time to work. And the longer you train and the more advanced you become, then you may need to add different supplementation in there just to give you a little extra edge. So especially in physique competition, there are different things I would add as I go along, closer and closer as I get leaner and leaner, that are going to help me maintain the muscle that I have while losing fat. So, but I'm not going to do that year round. So there's a time that you may add things, but you don't want to just throw everything in like all at once.
Mm-hmm. I would say lay the foundation first. Like if you can put off supplementing other than like maybe like the multivitamins and stuff like that, where you do have to fill in those spaces, but things that you can eat, like whole foods that you can eat, if you can put off the supplementation and like fill out your nutritional needs first with that real food and put that supplementation off as long as possible, you're going to set yourself ahead, right? Because now you've really created this great base of balanced eating that those supplements are going to be able to support. If you throw protein powder and pre-workout and all of the things onto a crap diet, yes, you're getting more protein. I understand that, but we're really kind of like robbing Peter to pay Paul, right? Like we're just kind of like moving pieces around versus, building out that foundation.
I agree. So any questions? Of course, y'all can drop questions, but if you have questions later, you can always drop them in the comments as well, wherever you see or listen to this. But I mean, I think that's about what I wanted to cover.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm excited to see people posting in here or, dropping us a message or something about what you're using currently, what you like about it, all of those things. So definitely.
Whey versus vegan protein. So obviously, totally different. I mean, your protein thoughts. Karen just wrote thoughts on, so your protein thoughts. Your protein type obviously matters because, like, for example, my boyfriend's son, he cannot have dairy of any kind. So he can't have whey protein at all. And so he would have to go a vegan option. But like, again, you just want to kind of look at the macros. I do know that like a lot of people that I have had use vegan proteins, like with him, like there are some that he hated and some that he liked, and they're very, vegan doesn't seem to have the appealing options like as like whey proteins or blends do. So you really have to kind of look around. But like if you're getting a vegan protein that is still a good source of protein, then that is just a personal option, and that's perfectly fine. I think the point is that you kind of keep it as like she said, keep your foods as whole food source as you can. But if you're supplementing with a protein powder and you use a vegan protein, again, just kind of look at those macros and make sure you're not getting a whole bunch of added things that you don't need.
Mm-hmm. It's basically the source that you're choosing the protein to come from. Right. Where's that protein sourced from is I think what the question is. Karen, what are your thoughts on BCAAs, Holly?
So BCAAs. Okay, so really BCAAs are kind of like to protein, like vitamins are to fruits and vegetables, right? So they're sort of like filling in the spaces. BCAAs kind of give you the aminos that you need that you may not be getting, but you should be able to get them from your regular diet. Now, personally, I will supplement with BCAA sometimes just simply because when I go to the gym, I don't like just plain water. So I will actually just kind of use that. It's kind of like the muscle protein synthesis part. I'll look at BCAAs as sort of like keeping that going versus like if I take BCAAs with me to the gym or EAAs, because there's a difference. There's essential amino acids, there's branched chain amino acids. I would put my creatine in with that and actually have it while I'm working out. And I look at that as a way to not be using my muscle as energy in the gym. Like, especially as I've lifted like longer and harder, that kind of gives me that little extension as well. And because like I'm a hard gainer. Like my body's going to take my muscle first. I guarantee it. Because I would just be a skinny fat mess if I didn't really, really try hard to not be. But so the BCAAs, I think they help you just kind of increase that muscle protein synthesis over time. And if you're training hard, it kind of gives your body something like to have that's not really calories, but you're getting the aminos, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I would say if and like you use it, Holly, most of the time if people are set on adding BCAAs to something, intra-workout, during your workout is a great time to add those in.
Yeah, I like it. And it's like my creatine is plain. And it's like, you know, my boyfriend will just like take a scoop of creatine and then just like, I like to actually have that consistent. Like I like to have a little bit, like during my workout is perfect. So I will mix those two together.
Yeah. So here's my question, and maybe this is a place for the group to answer, whether you're watching it now or you're watching the replay or you have questions. I know Coach Holly is kind of partnered up with somebody. I'm partnered up with a wellness store as well, and there's great options in both places, and it really is going to be what appeals to you, what your needs are. But we could do like a workshop and kind of present all of the exact supplements that we're using, what they cost per serving, what they're good for, how we implement them into our own training. That might be helpful for you guys. If you guys want us to do that, we can. If you're like, you know what, I don't, feel like buying anything, you can jump off or whatever. But maybe just to have that option of what's available out there that isn't, being Facebook advertised to you, might be helpful. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So let us know. But Beth, as far as that goes, I mean, no, protein is going to be pretty much protein for your building purposes. Like I think the key thing is like a variety. So making sure that you are getting a variety of protein. I think that variety is so important as far as protein and carbs go. You don't want the same thing just like day after day after day after day, just because, again, think of nutritional variances, and you want that, like, you may have several days like where you're eating a certain vegetable just because you prepped a lot of them, right? And that's fine, but then you want to kind of like get something else in there. And again, that's why we supplement. It's just like fill in the gaps, on a regular basis.
Okay, Beth says she wants us to do that. So we'll set up a workshop. I think we'll do it like a Zoom call so you guys can jump on. We can share our screen, and that way we can kind of just show you. And then also, if we've got some of the products in our homes, obviously, we'll just hold them up. You guys can kind of see sizes and that sort of thing. I wish we could let you taste them. That would be super awesome. But I know I've tasted a lot of what Coach Holly is able to promote, which is really good. And I think vice versa too. So we kind of both shop at the same stores. Just depends on what it is. So yeah, Beth, I'm wondering, is it the naked protein, the naked pea protein? Is she still with us? I can't see.
I don't know.
Maybe it is, maybe it's not. I actually really liked the naked pea protein, but I'm not sure. When I was breastfeeding, I had a kid that was like a little bit averse to milk products, so I tried that for a while, and that was pretty good because it mixed in with a lot of things. But okay, we will jump off Arbonne. Okay.
But anyway, okay, ladies. So if you have questions about products, drop them in the group. If you're watching later, drop it in the chat at any time. You can contact me at fitwithholly.com. You can contact Coach Katie at callousfitness.com, and we're here to help. And always love to hear from you guys. So anyway, have an awesome day, and we will see you on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.